Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pitstop April 2019 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What's rolling out now for SharePoint and related Microsoft 365 technologies? These roadmap episodes are the answer. This month, I talk with Marc Windle, a senior program manager on the SharePoint engineering team for all things files restore for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. Consider this the message center for everyone, not just for cloud admins. We'll keep you informed, current, and ahead of the ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. We've got a lot of items to cover. The engines are hot, the flag's dropping. Boom, off we go. First stop on the Roadmap Pitstop is to talk about what has been rolling out for employee engagement, how you communicate throughout your whole entire organization. We've got two items. The first one, Yammer Conversations web part has now reached general availability. If you haven't seen it, you'll see it now. This is a way to invigorate your intranet by integrating Yammer Conversations from topics, groups, or users right within the SharePoint user interface. This combines the social nature of learning across organizations with the content and knowledge management powers of SharePoint. You really use this when you want people to participate in Yammer Conversations without leaving the SharePoint page. Alongside the Yammer Conversations web part is a second Yammer web part called the Yammer Highlights web part. You use this to provide a quick overview of active conversations and a targeted portal to specific groups or conversations in Yammer. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can learn about what both the Yammer web parts do and how you can use them best right inside those SharePoint experiences that you're designing. The second item for employee engagement is news audience targeting. This is available for news and the highlighted content web part to take your news articles and pages and dictate who should be able to see them. So when somebody comes to your site or portal, you've got a nice targeted, personalized experience based on Azure Active Directory groups that then filters the content based on who's actually logging into that site or that portal. You can control the experience and you can put content front and center that's unique and targeted to different audiences throughout your organization. That's it for employee engagement. Before we jump into all the new innovation for teamwork, we're going to take a moment and chat with a Microsoft program manager, Marc Windle. He's going to share all that he's been working on specific to files restore for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. So we've reached that point in the show where we're going to actually maybe call it a new show. It's not the Intrazone anymore. This is the Marc and Marc show because we're here with Marc Windle, who is on the SharePoint team, senior program manager, doing a whole bunch of stuff. I will first tell you that we're in Marc's office, and I can see you've got a lot of those black cubes, which means you've got some patents.
I do. I have a few.
Can I start there? I don't have this part scripted. I was just curious. Off the top of your head, what are some of those patents?
Most of them are actually for setting up the service fabric and designs that we did for the original start to SBO about 10 years ago. I joined SharePoint and Microsoft back in 2008, and we were on this small little team that was going to take the on-prem SharePoint product and move it to the cloud. And we did a whole bunch of designs there on the service fabric, how to deploy at large cloud scale. And we were really kind of pioneering what it was going to be like to run SharePoint in the cloud.
That's awesome. So your career and mine across the way in marketing are actually pretty similar because I was the first marketer to come on board to market your thing, SharePoint Online. And actually remember sitting with Zach Rosenfield, who's your manager, who we've had on the show before. And he talked about it like this. He drew a small circle and he said, this is SharePoint. Then he drew a really big circle around. He said, now this is the service that we call SharePoint Online. And he described a whole lot of what you probably then got patents on.
Yep.
Cool. So where does that bring you to today? You know, we want to talk to you about files restore for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. But before we get into that feature, going from the service fabric to today, what's been some of the things you've focused on?
So I did work in the service fabric space for quite a while. And then today, the main aspect is looking at data loss prevention and working on making sure that we protect our customers' data from accidental and malicious data loss. I still own some of the infrastructure features, but data loss protection is my main area of focus.
So we want people to feel confident when they think about storing their content in the cloud. And when you say data loss prevention and everything that goes along with that, with security, privacy, and all the compliance measures, what's our philosophy behind that is not only how do we make our customers feel more comfortable in the cloud, but then how do we actually do that in product?
Yeah, we want to make sure that OneDrive and SharePoint is the safest place for you to put your company's data. And part of that is being able to recover it in case of accidental and malicious data loss. And SharePoint is a lot like a utility. There's a whole bunch of powerful capabilities built into the SharePoint product that allow you to protect you and your organization's data. Part of the philosophy is how do we give those capabilities to our customers in a way that is simple and easy to use. So there's a whole bunch of features that SharePoint offers already out of the gate, even before files restore, like version history, the recycle bin, and there are even deeper, more complicated features to use, like setting up retention policies and things like that. With the addition of files restore, one of the main points there is to try to expose some additional conveniences on top of those in-product features that exist already to help make it easy for you to recover from bulk, large-scale data loss incidents, like getting affected by ransomware or having somebody delete a whole bunch of files or documents that are in one of your document libraries.
You said you're making SharePoint easier to use, and I can think of, a couple of years ago that would have been a harder pill to swallow to actually say that out loud with confidence. But when I see this feature that you've released, and of course others like it, it's in this era of modern SharePoint. Again, 2 to 3 years ago, we might have said files restore, and people would have started thinking about PowerShell scripts and logged files that they need to go and do some pretty good wizardry just to get the outcome. Describe what it is, when people go to restore their files, both what it is and maybe the experience.
So there are various ways that a document library can be affected by ransomware or large-scale accidental data loss. Files Restore allows a site owner to go in and see the changes and activities that have happened on a document library, and if there have been a number of them that they would like to roll back, either because of ransomware or other changes that have happened, they can, with a few clicks, select those activities that have been done and that they want to undo, and hit restore, and it'll revert all of the changes back to a point in time.
Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about when an end user goes to actually restore a library, to get back something that they feel that they lost or something that was affected. How do they do that?
So if a document library has had changes on it that you would like to undo all of the changes into a document library from a specific point in time, Files Restore is a great utility for that. Whether that was from ransomware or somebody accidentally doing something within that document library, if you want to roll back the entire document library, that's where Files Restore really shines. And so you can go in there, select the point in time that you'd like to restore to, and restore back all of the changes that have been made since then. There are also other features that are in the product, like version history and the recycle bin, where if you want to make some specific changes or undo some specific things that have been done to maybe 1 or 2 files or recover a specific file, that you can use those to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the part when we think about, obviously on this podcast, talking about specific features, is just remembering that it's a feature of SharePoint, which is a content management system all of its own. Yeah. But as you add these additional features, I think it brings in these really robust capabilities. Where do you go next? You've got a lot of features that keep things encrypted at rest, encrypted in transit. You got files restore, you've got the recycle bin and version history. What's next in this space? What can people think about when they think about what is Microsoft doing to help me gain more confidence going forward in this space?
We're continuing to look for ways to make it easy to recover your data and to help protect you from accidental data loss and malicious data loss attacks.
Yeah, I can imagine in this space it's overwhelming, at least the end user experience. Something bad just happened, and I don't have to have a PhD now to get myself back into a good state. That's what you're saying?
That's right. We're hoping to make it as easy as possible to revert your entire document library if there's been changes made that you don't want.
Well, thank you for your time today. I hope that by the next time we come chat with you, there will be an 11th cube, and maybe Files Restore will get some nice patent action.
Yep, hopefully.
We've got the SharePoint conference coming up. Any last words as we get into the last couple of weeks leading up?
Yeah, I'll be putting on a session about Files Restore, and we're talking about some of the deeper concepts to help protect you and your organization from data loss. And you can also find me at the booth. I'll be at the Microsoft booth there, so if you've got questions about Files Restore or data loss protection or migration, you can come hit me up there and I'll be happy to help answer.
Excellent. Well, it's always nice to know. Go talk to Marc. Go talk to Marc. I'll remember that. Thank you, Marc Windle, Senior Program Manager on the SharePoint team. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do for not only the team, but everybody out there.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's always great to hear how the team is building the technology, and we want to share a little bit more about what Marc's been working on, which brings us to teamwork. The first item is Files Restore for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. You heard a lot of the planning and the strategy behind the feature, and we want to just make sure that you know exactly what it does. Files Restore for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams is a complete self-service recovery solution that allows administrators and site owners to restore files from any point in time during the last 30 days. Site owners will see a new Restore This Library option within the Library Settings panel, and this can be used as a self-service to restore files and folders in that library that you suspect have been compromised by end-user deletion, file corruption, or malware infection, again, to any point in the last 30 days. You might have heard about this already for OneDrive. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can learn how to do this for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams and how to restore for OneDrive, which is a complete solution to restore your files no matter whether they're yours or a part of a group team files. Next up, modern document sets. This is one from I know in the Twitter sphere is hot, hot, hot. So we're very excited to start rolling this out and actually starting to complement it with additional features. The modern document set groups related documents together with shared metadata integrated with the modern SharePoint user interface. Document sets now look and feel like ordinary files and folders in modern libraries with the benefit of all the new cool features in modern. This means that users can drag and drop content to upload to document sets, link to content that lives outside of the document set, pin files to the top of the document set, start flows on document set items, and define conditional formatting on document set items, all as one entity. There's a great thread in the community that we'll link to where we can learn a little bit more from one of the developers that put out some information about how they're building them and what's coming to market, so you can learn a lot more about modern document sets. Next up is something that we really wanted to get into end users' hands, and it's been available to developers for a little bit. This is Connected Web Parts for SharePoint. We're releasing 3 new connected web parts for SharePoint that allow you to display data from lists and library web parts. With the list properties, file viewer, and embed web parts, you can now connect to a data source and interact with lists and libraries in new ways. From a developer's perspective, they call this dynamic data. This shipped in the SharePoint Framework version 1.7. And dynamic data is consumption for the file viewer, list properties, and embed web parts, and it can be also carried over into your custom web parts with the same logic of how one web part can talk to the other. You can design really nice dynamic page experiences or site experiences, again, by having one web part talk to the other and share the information across the both. Next up is a very unique offering that we did with Autodesk. There have been new integrations with Autodesk AutoCAD for Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. These new integrations help with drafting tools that are available through AutoCAD, but certainly with files stored in OneDrive or SharePoint. You want to have a great experience. You can open and edit DWG files in AutoCAD desktop application, the AutoCAD mobile app, and the new AutoCAD web app in just a few clicks. The AutoCAD web app lets you design and draft in AutoCAD on any computer. It gives you a quick anytime access experience to your latest drawings from anywhere without having to have AutoCAD installed on your machine. So view, edit, and create your drawings in a simplified interface, and know that they're backed and stored in a great place, SharePoint and OneDrive, with a nice, deep, rich integration for a great end-user experience. The last item for teamwork is some of the enhancements we're doing to the Office 365 group card. This is very similar in how it's built to the people card when you hover over somebody's image, their profile image, or their name. Now, when you hover over the name of your group-connected team site, you'll see the Office 365 group card pop up. Further, click on it, it'll take you into a larger experience where you can search for members, renew the group, approve pending members, all those type of actions without having to leave the page. It's a lot of great experiences we're doing around these different hover experiences, and the Office 365 group card is becoming much more meaningful and much more useful. That's it for teamwork. Next up, related items, and I will tell you, there are a lot of related items, cool things that a lot of other teams are doing out there. Here we go. There are a lot of different engineering teams that are working together, sometimes in distinct innovations of their own, but a lot of times there's benefits that accrue to SharePoint, to OneDrive, and vice versa. So I wanted to take a little time to walk through a number of the related technologies that apply to how you use and think about SharePoint and OneDrive. First up is a lot of the things that the OneDrive Sync client team has been doing. They now have an offering that if you have a shared machine, you can have a per-machine sync client that's available for Windows. Note to both IT and users is that migrating to the per-machine client is optional. The new sync client does support syncing OneDrive and SharePoint files in this per-machine mode, and of course it's available in Microsoft 365 and in SharePoint Server 2019. There's two other elements that we want to talk about specific to sync. The first one is the new self-help option. Along with the above, we're working to add in-app resolutions to sync errors to help end users avert and solve issues easily. The first one of them is for illegal file names not syncing. End users will get an error status in the OneDrive for Business icon in their system tray, along with guidance on renaming the affected files, as well as education on legal file names. The next one is a prompt for pending uploads. The sync client will now notify users when they have pending uploads in the queue, when the computer is shutting down or going into standby. That'll save you a lot of headache or heartache when you think about what the sync client is doing and what it's been doing before you move on to your next task. You'll get that great awareness with the ability to recover yourself. Next up in the related category is what we're doing around Microsoft Search. The Bing preview now includes Yammer conversations. They're really expanding on all of the signals that they bring in that are searchable, and having Yammer conversations and being able to find them between your coworkers is now coming to Microsoft Search in Bing. An important note is that Microsoft Search will only return information in files that you have permissions to see, inclusive of whether you have the ability to see that particular Yammer conversation. Next up is something a little bit more broad, but it's a really great partner team that's been developing the ability for you to bring in site templates. There's a new P&P provisioning site that has right now launched into public preview the ability to get some of those lookbook sample designs into your own tenant. The SharePoint Lookbook is a way that we've been designing different ways for you to understand the art of the possible to build out unique and beautiful SharePoint sites. So there are a lot of samples now in public preview that you can go, bring into your tenant, have a look at, see the art of the possible, and even use going forward if you want. The P&P provisioning site is something where you'll see us lean into a little bit more on that in a future episode. Last thing in the related technologies, and it's related in the aspect of we've really been wanting you to have control of what your sites and portals and your overall SharePoint experience looks like. And we're complementing that with some of the innovation at the Office 365 navigation bar level. Now you can use larger, more flexible images to upload your company logo. Might seem like a minor thing, but if you imagine the thing that everybody in your company sees is that logo and having that truly represent in the best way your logo and brand. So we're modernizing this navigation bar to help you further customize and represent your brand across all of the Office 365 entry points. Upload your logo and have a lot of confidence that it will show up right, and certainly specific to Office applications and things like SharePoint and Office.com. You're setting up a logo to look great in the experiences that your people are in every day. After you set your custom logo, you should know that where your people are throughout the internet, they'll have great experiences and great relations to the look and feel of your company. That's it for the related technologies. So happy that all these teams work together. And of course, the better together is really what we want to promote and offer to you always going forward. I hope you are most excited about what's landed in April of 2019, but one of my favorite parts of the Roadmap Pitstop is to talk a few teasers about what's coming in May 2019. Thing number one to tease you and tantalize you about what's coming into Office 365 for SharePoint and OneDrive, we will have full fidelity shared libraries in OneDrive. Now, there's a lot that's behind this, and I'll share more next month, but I just want to give you the tip and the teaser that this is an experience in OneDrive, but it really is a broader effort where we want to have a rich file experience that's consistent across all the entry points where you work with your files in Microsoft 365. More on that next month. Thing number two, we are expanding what sharing links do, the different types of sharing links that you can create when you want to block downloads for Office files. Support for specific people links, and when you're creating them from File Explorer, Office apps, and the rest of the apps which use the common Office 365 file sharing experience, will now give you those rich capabilities. So hold those in your mind for May 2019, and just know that that's it for the teasers. We're close to the end of the pit stop. Let's apply the brakes a little and cover the important resources that are always available to you. With the Roadmap Pitstop, I hope you never ask, Mark, where do I go to learn more, to read more, to get more up to speed? But if you do, that's what this section is all about, the resources. We'd like to make sure you have a good list of resources to turn to throughout the year. We'll put a bunch of important links in the show notes based on this month's innovation, plus ongoing resources. These will take you to learn more about the Message Center, the Microsoft 365 Public Roadmap, our SharePoint and OneDrive community blogs, and all things Twitter. All the places you can go to get up to speed and stay ahead. We hope you enjoyed the nice, smooth, speedy ride through the pit stop. Thanks for enduring all the tight turns and tire burns of rubber. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Interzone Roadmap Pitstop April 2019 edition. Stay engaged, ask questions, push us to get the best information and insights that you need. We're here to put both our and your best change management foot forward. Stay safe out there on the roadmap. Till next month, thanks for listening.